much trust you put in the individuals who have the privilege of working on the components of your home. We understand that a broken garage door is the last thing you want to be worried about, and most of the time, doors break at the most inconvenient times. Our professionally trained technicians service 24 hours a day, and our high-cycle parts are guaranteed to make a noticeable impact on your garage door without putting a damper on your wallet. If you're looking for need of assistance maintaining your current garage door, our team has the experience and expertise to deliver the results you deserve. Give Direct Service Overhead a call today or visit us online to learn more.
All right, what's going on, Razorback fans, SEC fans everywhere? Welcome to the one and only Pig Trail Network YouTube channel. I'm Ty Hudson, the host and creator of the YouTube channel here. Alongside me today is Otis Kirk, the current contributor. I mean, you guys know who he is. He doesn't need a whole lot of an introduction, but he's the longtime writer covering the Razorbacks and currently a contributor for Hogville.net. Otis, how you doing, man?
Doing great. Appreciate you asking, man. Appreciate you asking me to be on here today, Ty.
Yeah, I know I told you a while back. It's like, man, I got to get you on the show, and we've got to do this. And time passed, and I figured out this app that I use to do everything, and I'm trying to figure it out one interview at a time. So yeah, we again, shout out to Patreon supporters of the Pig Trail Network, all 40 plus of you. Shout out to you guys, and of course our sponsor, Direct Service Overhead, the garage door repair company, who offer same-day services. Pull up all my ad reads here. They offer same-day services, 24/7, 365 days a year, emergency service, free estimates, quality parts, affordable outcomes, hundreds of five-star reviews, better than best results. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667. Again, that's 501-244-3667. Direct Service Overhead, the garage door company. Mike and them says, great to see you, Otis.
Great to be on here, man. Appreciate everybody. It's busy time right now. I mean, you know, we got football still going on, although there's no access this week, but you got football going on. You got recruits coming into town this weekend. You know, you got baseball out of town, but still going on. And then Muss has always got the bus going, man. I mean, he never stops. And, you know, I'm sure he's into something and for it's in the portal or somewhere. And, you know, Muss is kind of like me. He just never, I don't think he ever takes a day off. I think he just keeps going, man.
He does, man. That's got to be a crazy household. Well, then again, I guess he's never there when he's at home. I mean, out and about recruiting, doing his thing.
Yeah, he's always into something. I mean, and that's great. I mean, I like Musselman. You know, he actually made me look pretty good in the fact that I was on the SEC network and they asked me back if it's not the Wichita State coach or the Houston coach, who might Arkansas hire? And I said, well, I don't know, but a guy that I would recommend be Eric Musselman. And at that time, he'd never been mentioned with the job. It was pure luck because I had not had any inside that he would be. But I have a friend that played for him in the NBA and knows him and had just told me there's not a better fundamental coach in the country than Eric Musselman. And so I didn't know about his recruiting at the time, but I knew he was great fun. And I just threw that name out there, and turned out a few weeks later they hired the guy. So I looked like a genius, you know, even though it was pure 100% luck. Believe me.
Well, and then of course the portal, you know, instant eligibility becomes a thing, and he's worked the portal. I mean, he's a magician with it, without a doubt.
And that's important right now, and not just him, but Pittman does the same thing. Dave Van Horn does it probably to a lesser degree, but it doesn't matter. It's important, and you've got what's happened with the portal. And I know this is not one of the questions you're right, but I'm just saying with the portal, it has eliminated a lot of the complete rebuilds. Now, when you lose a Traylon Burks, you don't have to go to Juco and maybe 50-50 do you hit on the kid or not. You can go to OU and get the guy that caught the most passes for the Sooners, Jaden Haselwood, and you know pretty much what you're getting. I mean, so it's a lot different, and it eliminates, you know, Drew Sanders is better. I mean, it eliminates these total rebuilds that would have happened in the past. You lose some players like Fauché and Brooks, but then you go to LSU and get Landon Jackson and Dwight McLaughlin, And I mean, any fan would have made that trade.
I feel, and this is just my opinion, just JMO. I feel like they've upgraded. I know Brooks. I feel like Brooks is a pretty big loss, but with Brenny and McLaughlin, I feel like they may have upgraded, Otis.
Well, especially when you factor in they're getting Jalen Catalon back, Ty, you got to factor that in. And he would have been back with those guys. But I'm just saying that when you get Latavius Brenny, who started, I believe, 13 games at Georgia, you've got McLaughlin, who can step right in and replace Monteric Brown, and then Catalon's back. Slusher got all that experience last year. You're looking pretty good in the secondary. The one cornerback spot worries me a little bit opposite McLaughlin, but they've got guys like Ladarius Bishop, Hudson Clark. You've got guys there. It's somebody you want someone to step up and take hold of that position. And the best I could tell this spring, no one did. But you've got options, and it's what really hurts or what's scary is when you get into a position like that and you don't have options. So Arkansas's got options there, and I think Barry Odom and Dominic Bowman will figure it out for sure. They may have already figured it out. We've just seen of the 11 open practices, I saw 10 of them.
Sam Pittman said to the media, and I can't remember the last time a defensive coordinator, not that we get a lot of access to the coordinators, but I can't remember the last time a head coach or defensive coordinator said they were too deep at every defensive back position.
Yeah, and Catalan told me it's the deepest it's been since he's been here, and that's great. I love to see the safeties. I mean, you got we talked about Brandy, we talked about Slusher, we talked about Catalan, but you've got Jaden Johnson, you got Simeon Blair, you've got some others. I mean, depending on what they do with Malik Chavis, I mean, safety corner. I mean, you've got options. You got those two kids that they signed last year, or signed this year, but they're Jaden Lewis, and they're up here now, come in at midterm. So you've got options there. And like I said, that's the biggest thing. It's scary when you get into a situation where you have opening and you don't have good options. You want good. You can have options. They always got options, but I think they've got good options. That's the difference. You've always got options, but sometimes it's like, pick your poison. Do you want to get bitten by a snake or shot by a gun? I mean, that's not a good option, but you always have options. I think Arkansas's got good options, man.
Well, they're, like you said, they're well, here's what we say on the show on Pig Trail, and all the regulars know what I'm about to say. I'm going to make it into a bumper sticker or a t-shirt, but quality depth matters. And you feel like they may actually have that in certain areas on this roster. You feel a lot better about where they're at, especially defensively.
Well, when you did Grant Morgan and Hayden Henry, and you may have upgraded at linebacker, something's going right. I'm not saying they did, but on paper, I mean, I'm telling you, Drew Sanders really looks good. Poopaw has stepped up, and then I thought Jordan Crook was just awesome, man. Duncanville High School. And then there's some others over there too. I mean, Caden Henley looked good. And Matty Powell's one everybody's forgotten about, but when he gets well, there's another linebacker.
I saw him. I went to the Fayetteville when they played Harbor. It was the last home game of the season before the playoffs. And of course he was on crutches, but even on crutches, man, he looks huge. I think they have him listed at like 6'3", 235 maybe. Yeah, he looks. Yeah, he looks like a man. For sure.
Yeah, I walked by him the other day, and he's big. It's legit. I don't know what they got him listed at, but it's legit because that kid is big, and he's kind of the forgotten guy, but he won't be forgotten when he gets in there. And I loved Henley, and everybody was worried about his speed. What Henley has got that people are missing on, he's got linebacker instincts. You can have all kinds of speed, but if you don't have instincts, you have to sit there and think, what am I supposed to do? Well, you've lost that step of speed. I mean, speed's neutralized once you have to stop and think. Caden is a true has a nose for the football and has a knack for knowing what to do. He has linebacker instincts, and that eliminates that. you don't have to be a 4-5, 4-4 guy. Grant Morgan, I promise you, wasn't a 4-5 guy. And look what he did. He went from walk-on to All-American. Caden Henley can be as good or better than Grant Morgan was. Willie, I don't know, because Morgan worked his rear off. And I don't doubt that Caden will. But I'm just saying, you can't just say everybody's going to be a Grant Morgan. But Caden Henley has every bit as much talent, if not more, than Grant Morgan had. Now, he's got to take it and develop it and work it like Grant did and like Drew Morgan did. Nobody will outwork the Morgans. And I love Caden Henley, and I think he'll do the same. But until he does it, you can't really say he will. But we'll see. But I like that linebacker room. Michael Shearer, I wasn't sure when they hired him. I'm not going to lie to you. I looked around. I thought, man, he's awful young. He's not really but I'm telling you, man, he has done it. He's been the best linebacker coach they've had in a while. He's done a great job.
I mean, it's nice to have that. It's nice to feel really good, and I hope they can hang on to him for the foreseeable future.
Right.
Getting into and we do have a question here from the comments. If you guys have a question, I'll try my best to shoot them towards Otis. Again, for anyone who's lived under a rock and you don't know who Otis Kirk is, he's a longtime writer covering the Arkansas Razorbacks, and he contributes to none other than Hogville.net. Question 1 for you, Otis. Quarterback situation is an interesting one, considering the Hogs for the first time in a while did not take one in the high school ranks in this previous class, but did nab one from the portal. It appears the Hogs will take at least, obviously, one quarterback this year in the 2023 class. A couple of names we're very well aware of: Jaden Rashada, who's I think is a unanimous 4, maybe a 5-star, and then Malachi Singleton. Where do the Razorbacks stand with these two currently? We know Singleton announces on Monday.
Yeah, he's in town right now. He flew in this morning with his parents, landed in town. Malachi is here, will be here this weekend. Jaden was here last weekend. I think Arkansas is in great shape on Malachi. I don't think you'll get Rashada, but here's the deal. It would not surprise me. It depends. If KJ comes back for another year after this one, I think they'll take one quarterback. If KJ goes to the pros, or if Malik hits, because there's only 2 scholarship quarterbacks over there.
Yeah.
So if KJ goes to the NFL or Malik hits the portal again, then I think they'll take 2. But here's what I think they'll do. I think they're getting Malachi, but I think they would go to the portal for the next one then. I think, let's say KJ goes to the NFL. I think what you would do, you would see Sam go to the portal for a kid that's got 1 or 2 years of eligibility. We'll get the best quarterback possible out of the portal, like they did with Felipe Franks. I think that's what they would do, is try to do that. That's just me guessing on that, but I've got a pretty good indication that, I mean, you've really got 2 scholarship quarterbacks, but we can't forget that you mentioned they took one out of the portal. He's a walk-on, Britain, but Cade Fortin, but then you got the kid that walked on last year from Ole Miss. But you got to remember, both those kids were scholarship players at Ole Miss and South Florida. They were scholarship. And when Fortin came out of North Carolina, he was pretty highly ranked 3-star and went, and so it's not like these are walk-ons who can't walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. I mean, these are kids that were scholarship players, ranked 3 stars in high school, and had offers. I mean, Miami offered, Florida State, offered, the one that's out of Ole Miss. And so it went to Ole Miss and played a year and then came here. So you've got to but I really think if Arkansas takes 2 quarterbacks, I think one will be Malachi and the other would be someone out of the portal.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at with it too. I think it almost feels like it's starting to feel like a necessity more and more. And I think that speaks to them not getting one last class.
Well, you're sitting here, and part of the ideal of not getting one last class was to appeal to the better quarterbacks in this class, and I think that's helped with Malachi. And and I know some people will look at the stars and they think Rashada and they think Singleton and they want Rashada. But let me tell you, I'd rather have Malachi, and it has nothing to do with the stars, has nothing to do, but I think that's who Arkansas can get. Malachi rushed for over 1,000 yards. Rashada had a little over 100. I like that dual threat to run, because I'm telling you, nothing can break down a defense faster than a quarterback who can if it's the pass is not there, he can pull it down and run. Quinn Grovey. That's why I love Quinn Grovey. I always said, people talked about Joe Ferguson, who I love as a person, but I liked Quinn Grovey more as a quarterback because he could break down a defense with his running ability, and then he worked the pass. And Malachi, and I think Quinn would tell you this, Malachi coming out of high school is quite a bit ways ahead of where Quinn was as a passer coming out of Duncan, Oklahoma. Malachi's way ahead of where he was right now.
So, you and I talked about this not long ago. Is Rashada? He's capable as a runner, but he's less willing to run.
Well, you don't know because you don't know if the coach didn't want to run him because he didn't want to get him hurt. They may not have anything behind him. It may be the coach telling him don't run. And KJ could run a lot more than he runs at Arkansas, but Arkansas didn't want to get him hurt. So, it's probably a few factors involved, but I just know one thing at 6'4" and you're running, you're a big target out there, man. And you're more out. Malachi is 6'1", 220. He reminds me of KJ a little bit. He tough. He's a punishing runner, and I think he's more apt to stay healthy in the SEC. I've been a big Malachi fan the whole time. And look, don't get me wrong. If they could get both those guys, it'd be great. But I don't see that happening. But if me personally, and I'm not saying Sam Pittman, this is me, Otis Kirk, saying if I could take one of the two, I'd take Malachi. Simply because I love the dual threat quarterback, the guy who runs and has proven he can do it and will do it, and is seemingly more durable. He's a big kid,
I've watched some of this film, and he looks like the way he's built, the way he runs, he looks like a running back. He looks like a punishing running back.
Exactly. He reminds me of somebody. Yeah, you're right. You're a tailback who just punishes the defender, and when you tackle the guy, I'm trying to think of some running back big, like maybe, to a degree, maybe an Alex Collins or something, but there's been some running back, and I don't know who I'd really compare him to, but yeah, he can do that, but he can also bring it. And, he's got a teammate here too. Sam Bakke will be here in the summer, receiver. And that was his teammate down there at North Cobb in Kennesaw, Georgia. And they got a great connection together. And Bakke came here, 4-star receiver. And I think he's going to have an outstanding career too. And then, but you've got Isaiah Sigtegna. You've got guys coming in at receiver. Haselwood, we talked about. Of course, kid I love is Quincy McAdoo. I've asked Sam. I've asked Browse. I asked KJ about Quincy because I love Quincy McAdoo. I'm not saying he's going to be a star this fall, but in time, that kid, he came from Clarendon, smaller school, but I think in time, Quincy McAdoo is going to remind people of Andy Lucas or somebody like that, man. I think he's going to really remind people of some great receivers. I thought he's the best.
I think he's going to be great. That's answering Montero Knight's question. What does our wide receiver look like as a whole? And so I think you kind of hit on something there.
Yeah, I asked Sam about that last Saturday after the scrimmage, and he told me he likes the room, but it's not deep. And that's why we're going to have a question on this later on, I'm pretty sure, about the portal. But right now, the room is not deep. They've got some guys. Well, you're really not proven there. You've got Warren Thompson's proven. Jaden Haselwood's proven, but in a different offense. But the rest of those guys, even Keytron Jackson, technically are not proven receivers. But I think what you're going to see, and I'm going to tell you, for the guy that asked the question, for the person that asked the question, I'm going to tell you the sleeper in this wide receiver deal is Malik Hornsby. I'm telling you, Malik Hornsby can be one rich dude in the NFL catching passes. I knew we all know he can fly. He has great speed. What I didn't know, he has great hands. And I didn't know. There's no way to know it, but he can catch the football. I'm telling you, Malik Hornsby, if he wanted to play receiver and concentrate on that, he could be a rich guy one day at receiver because he's got a great man. I saw him catch a 75-yard and a 55-yard touchdown from KJ, 2 touchdowns against the first team cornerback about a week ago in one of the spring drills. It wasn't the scrimmages before that, but I saw him he beat the same guy twice, 75 and 55 yards. And I mean, he can just fly. And I don't know. he's going to be a headache for some opposing defenses this fall, whether it's at quarterback, running, or catching the ball. But let me tell you, I love that move. I didn't know. Everybody talked about, well, he's so fast. I said, yeah, but if he can't catch it, it doesn't do any good to be fast, but he can catch it. Believe me, he's got very good hands.
I could have, and I know it's not a question like you said, but I could go on. I could make a whole show about what they're doing with Hornsby, kind of my take on it. I talked briefly about it last week on a live show, and it's really fascinating to see what's going on with him moving out there and how they plan to deal with that in practice, because eventually, Otis, he's going to have to start taking a little bit of contact. I mean, don't you think?
Well, the quarterback never takes any anyway in practice, right. even in the fall. They don't do it, and they haven't in years. But I don't know at receiver. The contact's not going to be an issue for Malik, because when when you've seen him at quarterback, he's actually taken a lot of contact in games because he runs the ball a lot. So he showed me he's tough. I'm not worried about him tough. Or durability. I just think he's just, it's just where Malik is coming up short right now at quarterback is passing the football. He's got to get better at that. And that's what, obviously we know he can run, but if he could throw with his running ability, he's doing what I said earlier. He could break down a defense with the way, and Quinn Grover, like I said, I keep going back to Quinn. Quinn's a friend of mine, so I know you don't. And I love Quinn. I think he's the best quarterback played over there. But I'm just saying, Quinn developed as a passer. He was like Grant Morgan. He just kept working and working and working. He got better as a passer. He was a dang good passer at the end of his career. And so Malik, still young. We forget he's a young kid, going to be a redshirt sophomore this season. He's not like he's a fifth-year senior or something. So Malik Hornsby can still develop into a good quarterback, but to make his running the threat it should be, he's got to become a better passer. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I agree in that. We saw signs of that in the red-white scrimmage. I know you've seen it there in practice, what little access you guys are given.
Yeah.
I know you've seen it as well. A transfer portal question I have for you. They have 3 spots available. Where do you think they go with them? Is it going to be a wide receiver, interior defensive lineman? I know you have an article out actually about the Nebraska kid, but where do you see them going with these three spots in the portal?
If everything goes as planned, which we know in recruiting, it doesn't always go as planned, but the plan is to take 2 interior defensive linemen to go with Landon Jackson and Jordan Dominic. That gives you 4 defensive linemen from the portal in this class. Then the third one would go to a wide receiver, because as I said a while ago, Sam specifically said last Saturday that the room is not very deep. And of course, now when they get Sigtagna and Bakke in here, it's going to be a little deeper. That's two kids. And there's no doubt in my mind Isaiah will play next year. Bakke probably will too. But there's no doubt in my mind that Sigtagna can play and can and will play next year. But so that obviously helped. But right now the idea is a receiver and 2 interior defensive linemen. Now, with that said, if big-time cornerback, maybe a big-time left tackle. But I think, you have the kids from Georgia, that 5 stars that were hitting the portal, but I think he feels pretty good about his left tackle situation. They had 4 starters back on the offensive line, and the wild card there is also not just Luke Jones and Brady Latham, but Tykees Crawford has got to play. I mean, this is a kid, we forget he was basically almost a 5-star out of high school. And people forget about him. You got Jalen St. John. You've got some studs, Marcus Henderson. You've got some studs sitting on the bench over there, and they have, because they've had them offensive linemen coming back. And like I said, there's 4 starters back this year. But I don't think as sure as I say this, tomorrow they'll take an offensive tackle. But right now, and I know you asked me one day, you messaged me and texted me and asked me about those Georgia kids, and a lot of people did. I think it was you anyway, but I know I got a lot of questions on that. And it's natural to assume that he might, since he recruited those guys. But I think they feel good enough there. To me, if it were me, and I'm not Sam, obviously, nowhere near, he's forgotten more football than I will ever know. But if it were me, I might be looking for another, if I could find a can't-miss corner. I still worry about that spot opposite McLaughlin. They've got options, and I think they've got some good options. But, man, I would not be opposed to, even if it meant taking one interior defensive lineman, still get the receiver. I might look for a cornerback if it were me, but I'm not. It's not me. This is just me talking. But I don't think, and a kid I'd like to see him take out of the transfer portal is Mason Brotherton from Mena, the tight end from Kansas. He just went into the portal. And I love Mason Brotherton, but I don't think they will take a tight end from the portal because they've got 3 commitments from 3 of the top ones in the nation in class of 2024, with Luke Haas, Shamar Easter and Jaden. And by the way, I saw him on in person last weekend for the first time. I think the first time ever I've seen him actually in person. God, he's a good-looking kid, man. I mean, he's the one that everybody forgets about in that tight end room. We all know Easter, who I think is going to be great. Haas, big-time commitment. But Ham's a 4-star. It's not like he's a nobody. But I really thought – I didn't know about him. But let me tell you, just looking at him, man, he is a good look. He and Haas came out there and were hanging out with Jaden Rashada last Saturday at the scrimmage. And at first I thought, who is that? And it hit me. That's Jaden Ham. He is a good-looking kid, people.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've heard that. I've heard that he looks like he'll fill out a jersey quite nicely.
Oh, man. I mean, he's the type, looks like to me, that if it ever worked out at tight end, you could put him on that defensive line. I think I may be wrong on this. I'd have to go back through my notes, but I think he may play some defensive line up at Eudora, Kansas. But if he can't, I know he's got the frame. You'll find a place to play Jaden Ham. I mean, he'll be tight end, but I'm just saying with that frame, man, just for his frames and everything, he looks every bit as good or better than Luke Haas does. I mean, he's just, man, I mean, I was really impressed with the way he looked. I've seen Luke a million times, so I know what Luke, and I've seen Easter, and so I'm kind of used to those guys. I just never seen Ham in person. I've seen him obviously on tape, seen pictures, all this good stuff, but I had missed him when I'd been over trying to catch some recruits at the junior days, prospect days, whatever you want to refer to them as. And I had missed him, but yeah, I love the way he looks anyway. That tight end room next year with those 3, when they get in 2024, that's going to be a great – well, Dow Loggins is really doing a great job recruiting, man.
Well, he is.
I
don't think he's getting enough – he's not getting enough credit. And I think the job that he did with Trey Knox in the middle of last season, moving him, because I know Knox – went to the staff and said, hey, I'll play anywhere. Just get me on the field. And I think he requested playing tight end. And the job he did with moving him and getting him acclimated, as you know, I think you and I have talked about this, that's not easy to move from wide receiver to tight end. I don't care about your frame or your size. That's still hard. That's a hard move.
He did it 217 last year and dominated a few games. That game at Ole Miss, he was dominating down there at tight end. Yeah. And he's up to 240 now. And he looks different, looks better, bigger, and I can't tell a bit that he's lost any speed. And there's a kid that did exactly what we've talked about a million times. Didn't really have the breakaway speed at receiver. Moved to tight end, where now his speed is an asset at tight end, where it was pretty average to below maybe at receiver. It's an asset at tight end, and he's as he said, I think it was he said last Saturday, he said, I think I can make a lot of money at this position, and he will. The kid can catch a football. He's got good hands. He's got good size now. And if some team asked me what about Trey Knox, here's what I would say. His best football at tight end is ahead of him because he's only been there a year and a half, or will be there a year and a half after this coming season. Right now it's a half year. But after this coming season, this fall, he will only be there a year and a half. If he's like me, if he can stay out of these car wrecks, he'll be doing good and have a great future, man. I mean, he got in one, and like me, it wasn't his fault, but he hit a window and had a concussion, and missed quite a bit of practice time.
Yeah, he did. He missed quite a bit of time with that concussion.
He's back. And that wasn't really a deal where it really hurt him that much to miss, because he knows that position, and he played it. He played it at least the last half of the season, even more than the last half. And that's a natural for him at tight end. His speed worried me some at receiver. He couldn't get the separation that you really want. Whereas put him on a linebacker covering him or something, or a safety, he gets some separation. I mean, they love him. KJ looks for him on those 2-minute drills. He looks for Trey Knox. And guess what? Trey Knox is always there too.
his freshman year, he came in, and I don't remember 30-something catches, I think, which is extraordinary considering the circumstances. But something that stood out a little bit was his ability to, the 50-50 jump balls. He's pretty good at them.
Yeah, he is, and he can get that. He can get that 50-50 ball, and it's going to be that important at tight end too. He's got, and at 240, he can body up he can almost be a power forward out there, or he can be a power forward out there getting that position to get that 50-50 ball, because now he can muscle up on the guy a little bit more with that extra 23 pounds. Yeah, Trey Knox is going to be a very good tight end, and I agree with him. I think he's going to. You never know, but barring an injury, barring some unforeseen thing, he's going to have a very good career in the NFL. I mean, I don't know if he'll ever be all pro. I don't know that, and I'm not saying he will be, but he will have a very good, solid career and make him a lot of money and have some fun doing it. And some team will get a steal there with him. Just like I said when Cam Curl came out, drafted in the 7th round, I said that's the biggest steal in the draft, and it was.
Yeah,
I knew
Going back to recruiting really quick, Arkansas is making a pretty strong push on 2024 5-star defensive end Colin Simmons, and we already talked a little bit about Jaden Rashada, 5-star quarterback. Do you see the Hogs possibly signing or at least getting the commitment and eventual signing of a 5-star prospect?
I think they've got a very, very, very legit shot at Colin Simmons. This is a kid that people assume is not going to leave Texas. They're assuming wrong. I think they've got a legit shot at him. That Duncanville team getting Jordan Crook, that was huge, Ty, because now not just Colin Simmons, but they've got some 4-star cornerbacks, 4-star safeties. They've got some kids down there, 23, 24, and 25 classes, and they love Arkansas. They were up here this spring at the prospect days. Colin came, the corners, the safeties. There's a bunch of them, and they're all loving Arkansas. And the fact that Jordan Crook is going to play this year is not going to hurt their chances with them. I think right now, he's probably your 4th linebacker. I think he's your 4th. I think he and Poopaw run second-team linebackers. And right now, I think that's going to help. That's a great school. I watched their state championship game. I actually saw, and I loved Jordan Crook, but they've got so much talent on that team, and they lost. I believe it was North Shore beat them 17-10. I believe it was, but they lost the championship game in AT&T to somebody 17-10. I'm almost certain it was North Shore, but Duncanville had a chance to win that game. They're loaded with talent, and Arkansas is in on those kids, and I think they've got a legit shot at Simmons. I'm not saying they'll get him. It's too much time to predict that, but I think that right now I would say their chance is probably as good as anybody else's.
Well, there you go. For everyone that's one of my frequently asked questions about Ty, when they get in a 5-star. I was at Walmart not long ago, and some guy pulled me aside and he goes, I say not long ago, it was right before COVID actually, but first words out of his mouth, hey, when they get in a 5-star. And I'm like, I don't know.
Technically, you can tell them Jaden Haselwood and Drew Sanders were 5-stars coming out of high school.
Yeah,
Jaden Haselwood was a 5-star, Ellenwood, Cedar Grove, and Drew Sanders was out of Denton, Ryan, I believe it is down there. Denton, I believe it's Ryan. But anyway, he was a 5-star also. So they've got those, but yeah, they're going to get some. Sam Pittman and his staff know how to recruit. And, but yeah, Simmons could be the answer to your question there, not trivia question, but your question. It could be Colin Simmons. We'll see.
What do you think the odds are of them, of this class? Cause it started off strong. I didn't run this by you. I missed it. I'm sorry before we started recording, before we went live.
No,
but what do you think the odds are they finish with the top 15 class this year?
The fact they're getting a quarterback will help. That helps the rankings. It just does. Let's be honest. I think it's possible. Those ratings get moved around. They want certain schools in there. The services kind of move stuff around to make sure their school gets in there. But I think Arkansas's got a chance. I'm not sure that they didn't have a top 15 last year when you factor in the transfer portal guys. I mean, if you don't factor them in, and most services I don't think do now, if you're not factoring in the portal guys, you're missing the boat, because I'm telling you, Arkansas hit on those portal kids, and not just Arkansas. There's a lot of schools hitting on the portal. I mean, LSU had a good time. I think Ole Miss got some good portal kids. But the fact that Arkansas didn't have a quarterback in that class probably knocked the ranking down just a little. But I think getting the quarterback this year, a 4-star quarterback in Malachi, I think that will help a lot.
Yeah, I think 247 now they do factor in transfers, I believe, or it has its own ranking, I guess.
Good. They should. And there's going to be, and that's what I'm sure these services. I used to work for Rivals. I work for 24/7. I'm sure they're adjusting. You have to. Yeah. Things changed. Transfers weren't in there counted when I was over there. Just a regular transfer wasn't counted in the rankings. I remember when Ryan Mallett came to Arkansas, he didn't get counted in the rankings. But I think now the portal, the transfer was one thing, because you got 1 or 2 transfers occasionally. The portal is a different deal, and they've got those people know how to run their business. They don't need me telling them, but you've got to factor in the transfer portal. It's just too big now not to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just too big. And unless something changes, it's not going away. And right now, it's just too big not to factor that in. It's got to be the transfer portal. The transfers have got to be counted in. Yeah,
because they're what's changed is they're now immediately eligible.
Exactly, and it's completely different, and it's a big deal. Like I said, but used to, and I'll be quick with this. Used to, Arkansas to replace Traylon Burks would have gone the Juco route. You get there, it's 50-50 if you hit on the kid or not. And even if you hit on him, usually they struggle. Their average their first year, then the second year they really come on and have a good year. But with Jaden Haselwood, you're getting a kid that led OU with 39 catches. Now, I know he didn't have the most yardage. I get that. 2 or 3 of them have. One of them was Mike Woods, had more yardage. But Jaden led them with 39 receptions. And to get OU's leading receiver to replace Trey, that's probably as good as you can do. That's as good as you can hope for right there.
And he led them in receiving touchdowns with 6, I believe. If I'm not
mistaken. He had 39 catches with 6 touchdowns. He sure did. And I think I've got that memorized. How many times I've written it? I want to say maybe 399 yards, but I could be wrong on that. But I do know he had 39 catches and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, final question here, and it relates to recruiting. We've seen plenty of teams over the years do this. Arkansas does it. They and we saw it not long ago on Twitter. These kids will post pictures wearing alternate jerseys, wearing the chrome helmet that I have behind me. It seems like, I don't know if that's coordinated by the university or if that's the player requesting to wear those to take the pictures with and post them on the socials. I don't know. But we've seen them take pictures again with the white helmet, the chrome helmet, alternative jerseys. I get that some Hog fans could care less about this. I understand that. Right. But I think it's an important question. Does what you wear on the field have an impact on these guys when it comes to considering the school they commit or sign with when you talk with them? Is that something that they've kind of told you? Like, yeah, I dig these jerseys. And of course, you have Oregon, who's, I swear, they've got 14 jersey combinations every year.
Yeah, they got Nike in their pocket. Well, yeah. And I don't know if any kid actually picks a college because of that, but I think it's a factor. And I want to. I hear the thing I get that irritates me to death is, well, Alabama doesn't do that. Look, folks, they're Alabama. What they do and what Arkansas does is 2 different things.
Yeah.
I sit in the press box and I listen to the old people and look, I'm old, but I'm going to tell you that chrome helmet at the Liberty Bowl when they beat Kansas State. I love that helmet. I'd wear that every game if it were me. And I didn't like the white helmet with the red hog, just the outline of the hog, not the red hog, just the red outline. I didn't like that. I love that chrome. I love the anthracite uniforms. I really do. And the recruits, it catches their eye, and they do comment on it. Like I said, I don't know if you'll ever get a kid because you had a chrome helmet, and you had a uniform that he really appealed to, but I think kids love that stuff. When I leave there, I mean, half time I couldn't even tell you if they were in a red jersey or white jersey. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, but I do like the alternate uniforms. I mean, I like that, man. I think it's neat. I think I think in recruiting, the more creative you can be, you can go too far, Ty. You can go too far, but I think the more creative you can be, and one thing I always think when I hear these old people sitting in the press box griping about they're not doing that to impress me, you, or even Ty. They're doing this to impress recruits, and the players like it. The recruits like it. That's what. It doesn't matter what Otis Kirk likes up there, I like them, but I'm just saying it wouldn't matter if I didn't. They're not doing it to please me or these other any reporter, but I do think the recruits, it catches her. Anything that you can do to put a positive spin and leave a positive taste in a recruit's mouth, then it all adds up, man. It all adds up, and you don't want to get so creative if you don't have an identity. You've got to have an identity.
That's a good point.
You've got to be creative to the point that you're staying up with the times. And I think that's what a lot of people miss on this stuff. I hear them griping. We're not Arkansas State. I don't like those black uniforms. Well, that's there again. That's fine and dandy if you don't like them. But just enjoy the game. Like I said, they're not doing it because of somebody liking it or not liking. They're doing it because of recruits, and it does help in recruiting. As I said, I don't know that I've ever had a kid say I'm coming here because of that uniform, but I do know after that Liberty Bowl when they wore that helmet, and they've worn it some other times, I got a lot of compliments from recruits on that. I mean, it caught their eye. I was setting up in the press box, and like I said, honestly, Ty, I'm a guy that goes to the press box. I leave there. I couldn't even tell you what color uniform. I don't pay attention to that. But that day, I'm in Memphis, and I mean, they came out there with those on, and I loved it. And they've worn them a few other times, and if it were me, I would try to do that all the time, man, because I think that is one. I love that helmet you've got behind you there.
Yeah,
it's the Rams too, man. We're both Rams fans, but I love that helmet, that hog helmet. I think that chrome was not, but no, I think it does help recruiting. To answer your question, I know I went long-winded there, but I do think, to answer your question, I don't know what it actually makes a decision for a kid. I might worry about the kid if he chose the school because of a uniform, but I might worry about that kid. But no, I do think it makes a difference, and I think that's what you're asking. And yeah, it does make a difference. And I think anything you can do that puts a positive spin on the University of Arkansas, you do it. I'm going to tell you right now, I think the one thing, I'll add this before we go, I think the one thing that happened to the University of Arkansas more than anything else is Sam Pittman. I was talking to a recruit last night, a big defensive end, and he told me, I said, what do you love most about Arkansas? And he said, Sam Pittman. I love Sam Pittman. He just said that over and over. I'll have a story on him after a while. It's Charlie Crutchfield, who, out of Pine Bluff, but he's, Charlie Collins. I'm sorry. I'm getting mixed.
Okay.
Charlie Collins, Charleston Collins, but he told me last night he prefers Charlie. Charlie Collins is his name, out of Pine Bluff, not the other kid was a receiver.
He's blown up in recruiting, is he not? Didn't he get some more offers?
He had Arkansas offer him last Saturday. Then Ole Miss offered him yesterday. We already had the interview set up for last night, but they offered him yesterday. I said on Pig Trail Nation last Sunday, Ty, I said during my interview on there, and I sent him the tape, I said, the kid had one offer, and that was to Arkansas State. Then Arkansas offered him. He's just a sophomore. I said, now watch schools. They're going to start offering him because Arkansas did. There's something about it. If Arkansas doesn't offer a kid, sometimes these schools think, well, there's got to be something wrong. Arkansas not offering him. But once Arkansas offers, then a lot of them jump in. And Ole Miss wasted no time jumping in the mix for him. Just I suspected they would, and there'll be more schools do it too. He's a sophomore. He's 2024. He's one of 4 kids in Arkansas in that class that has an offer to the Hogs. Braylon Russell from Lakeside is committed to the Hogs. Yeah. But the other 3 is a linebacker, Valley View, Brian Huff, and then, of course, the Vinny Winters over at Malvern, the offensive tackle. He's been offered by the Hogs.
Yeah. Well, the future looks pretty bright. I mean, in-state, and you go further down, of course, you got the kid out of Greenwood, the quarterback, Archer, and
Yeah.
My gosh, it does look, maybe those in-state classes, as they always are in Arkansas, are going to be top heavy, but they're looking pretty special.
If you can get the cream of the crop in Arkansas and keep them in the state,
mm-hmm.
and get you 2 or 3 walk-ons, 3 or 4 walk-ons from the state, and then get your kids from Texas, get that pipeline going into Texas, especially specific schools. And I think Duncanville is as good as any to get that going in. I love that. Metroplex is too close to not be hitting home runs there, Ty. And they have, and they will continue. And of course, Tennessee's been good to them.
Mm-hmm.
They picked up Luke Brown this week, 4-star offensive tackle.
Good get.
I think Tennessee's going to be good to them. Louisiana occasionally, Missouri, Kansas. I mean, it's just they don't hit Kansas as much. The JUCO recruiting is kind of taking a hit because of the transfer portal.
Yeah,
but Arkansas does go there a little bit. I like the Kansas JUCOs, but right now, like I said, you're not. Last year was the first time in my life since I've been doing this, and since sometime in the '80s, that I didn't have a single conversation with a JUCO kid. That was the first time. But there was no JUCO kids that I talked to in the class of 2022. That was the first time. The year before, I talked to Jalen Williams, who came here one year and then transferred to Southern Miss. So it was kind of declining then. But last year, I didn't talk to a single JUCO guy. Now, they have offered a receiver, and I'm sorry, his name's escaped me, out of Hutchinson for the 2023 class. They have offered a 4-star wide receiver up at Hutchinson for the class of 2023. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's really good too.
I have so many more questions I want to ask, but you just touched on the JUCO stuff. I actually had a question and then I moved it because I was like, nah, I don't want to get into the JUCO stuff right now. But man, as always, man, it's nice having you on, Otis, because you have a plethora of information, and I feel like I could sit here for hours and just talk. But I know you're busy, and I've got stuff going on too. But this was awesome. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Well, you can have me on anytime you ask, man. We're both flexible enough. We can make it work. Just ask me, and I'll be glad to come on. You're one of my favorites, man. And so if I can do anything to help you and come on here, and if you lose your sponsors after I'm on here, I got a face for the radio, a voice for the newspaper, but as long as you don't lose your sponsors, I'll be glad to come on anytime you want me to, man.
I think you did just fine, sir. You answered questions and you answered the chat questions. I know some of you guys had some more questions. I'm sorry I didn't get to them. Maybe next time when we have Otis on in the near future, we'll have more.
I love the code. I mean, the questions where, I don't know what I like to just get hit with them, and then answer it. Because if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. Because that's the first thing to tell you in this business. Don't ever say you don't know. And I said, bull, if I don't know, I'm going to tell them I don't know. I'm not going to, because as soon as you look like an idiot answering a question you don't know, then people are going to know you don't know. And they're going to think you're a liar or an idiot. And, I said, no, I'll tell them I don't know. But I guarantee you one thing, I will find out the answer and get back with them.
Yeah. I haven't promoted Discord yet, but we have a Discord, and that's what I have it there for. If anyone has any follow-up questions, they can find me there, or they can always hit me up on Twitter and or wherever, and I'll do my best to get back with them. So, but yeah, you guys know who this is, but I'm going to say his name anyways. It is Mr. Otis Kirk. You can follow him on Twitter at OtisKirk23. Or on hogville.net. And of course he makes how often are you on Pig Trail?
I write all my stories go to 6 different places, including Pig Trail Nation.
Yeah.
But I'm on there Sundays. I have a 5 or 10 minute segment on football recruiting on Pig Trail Nation each week. And it's on there. I assume they get, there's been a couple of weeks. One week we didn't have a show because of something. And one week I think I had a migraine one Sunday and wasn't on, but that's been a few weeks ago. But most of the time it's supposed to be every Sunday,
I typically catch them on YouTube, and I don't pay attention when they drop, but I'll watch them usually like Monday or Tuesday.
Well,
I'm trying to get caught up. Ask Mike, and then Hogs Plus content, and then wherever I could find, But you're one of the best, Otis.
Well, appreciate you, man. Like I said, if I can ever be on here and you need me on here, you just ask, man. We'll make it work. We'll fix the time when it does.
I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Woo Pig, and we will see you guys on the next one. Go Hogs.
Thank you, man.